Alienation. This is one I hear about so much. One of the parents says that the other parent is trying to push him or her out of the child's life. So, to get you thinking about whether alienation is in fact happening in your case, ask yourself this series of questions. Is one parent insisting that the child make decisions about seeing the other parent? If there's a court order in place that your child is supposed to be spending parenting time according to a schedule, then the child really needs to go, and it should not be up to the child, especially if the child is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. For younger child, the child should not be making the decision. Now, as children get older and they're teenagers and they're refusing, that becomes a little more problematic, because the reality is how are you going to pick up a 16-year-old and force them into a car and buckle the seatbelt and make them do this? It could turn into a physical thing with an older child. And if you have an older child who's refusing to that extent, I think it's time for the court to look at your case for sure. On alienation, does the other parent refuse to acknowledge positive comments about the other parent? Does a parent encourage contact between your child and you between visits? In some cases, parents refuse telephonic contact between the child and the other parent. So that's an indicator that maybe the parent's trying to alienate it if the parent's doing that. Is the parent inflexible about rules, routines, and expectations? Although you're going to have a parenting time document at the end of your case, you and the other parent are free to deviate from that if you both agree. And like I mentioned about the example of Disney on Ice on one of the earlier videos, if you're both agreeing that the child goes to Disney on Ice even though it's not your weekend, then that's cool. Nobody's going to call the police. The only time police are going to get called is if somebody is not abiding by what's in writing. Does one parent refuse to speak with the other parent? This is very difficult at the beginning of a relationship when emotions are still high and tension is still high, and the parents just may have a hard time talking. But like with anything, as time goes on, it gets easier. But I will tell you this, it is impossible to co-parent a child if you're not talking to the other parent. And maybe you don't have to talk to them verbally, but maybe the way you talk to them is via email or text. There has to be communication, though. Does one parent refuse to be in the same room as the other parent? That might be a symptom of alienation. Does a parent allow the other parent to come to the door for pickups and drop-offs? If not, think about it. Does a parent's nonverbal communication show disdain for the other parent? So in front of the child, is one parent rolling their eyes or making gestures? That's a sign that alienation could be happening. Does one parent discourage or refuse permission to attend school events to the other parent? Does a parent believe the other parent is important? And I always ask this question in my custody trials. Do you think that the other parent, I'll ask it to the opposing party, I'll ask, do you think that my client is important in your child's life? Do you think that your child loves my client? Do you think that my client loves the child? And do you think that my client is the best parent that they can be for the child? Do you think that the child needs my client? And a lot of the time, these answers that the opposing party is going to give are very telling. If the opposing party cannot name one redeeming quality or one good thing about my client, that shows the judge a lot. Does one parent portray the other parent as dangerous, even though it's not the case? Does a parent exaggerate negative qualities of the other parent? And does a parent make delusional false statements to the child about the other parent? Does one parent claim the other parent has changed since separation? Again, symptoms and signs of alienation. Is this happening in your case? And if it is happening in your case, then I encourage you to use these questions as a jumping off point during your trial to prove the alienation is happening. Are there false claims being made of physical, mental, or emotional abuse against the other parent? For example, is one parent calling CPS on the other parent quite a bit? And I see this happen a lot. If so, a judge is going to look at it. Does a parent refuse to correct a child's rude or defiant behavior towards the other parent, yet that parent would not allow the behavior towards others?